Hello and welcome back to the Sam Beast YouTube channel. My name is David.Foxen, and before we get started, as always, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. It really helps the channel out, and the channel has been growing a lot lately. Now, I recently saw an article in IT Pro online that really kind of caught my eye, and I wanted to share it with you and go through the article and what it actually means. Now, I've got the article on my phone here, so I'm going to read it out, but I'll also put it on the screen so you can see it, and there'll also be a link in the description. Now, the heading for this really caught my eye. So it's restrictive software licensing means UK public sector bodies are overpaying millions each year. So basically what this article is showing is that an organisation, a research organisation, has gone through, done some research, done those think tanks, and they've identified that the UK public sector is expected to waste at least £300 million on software licensing over the next 5 years, to what they say is due to restrictive licensing rules. Now, if I have a look through the article, and I'll quote some of it in here. So the Social Market Foundation think tank said that the current licensing rules that the UK public sectors are using are harder to switch between providers, which means that UK public sector organisations are ending up in more expensive software licensing agreements, longer term contracts that they can't get out of, that they're wasting money on. So the article states, our research shows that the restrictive software licensing practices squander millions of pounds, taxpayers' money, that could be used to fund vital public services, etc., etc., etc. Software licensing isn't just a technical issue. There's an economic and social imperative to ensure it works smoothly and prevents needless wastage of public resources in the future. So it further goes down to state that the UK public cloud sector, for example, was 18.8 billion in 2023, growing by over 200% since 2016, and then it's forecast to keep rising to 26.6 billion in 2028. This is around the whole G cloud, which a lot of the UK governments use, etc. But the research really focuses on this waste in terms of the software licensing. And it reckons that it's about £60 million per year, which obviously accounts to more than 300 million at the next Parliament term. The article goes on to say, it gives some suggestions as to how they can fix the problem, such as centralise the procurement of cloud contracts, negotiate terms with software suppliers to make things easier, look for other resellers and software providers, and avoid, locking in long-term contracts that they may not need to use. So, very interesting. Obviously, this is an independent think tank that's gone through and done this. However, the IT Pro online publication are reporting into this, and I thought it was really useful, and it was quite interesting for us to have a look at it. So the £300 million wastage over the next 5 years on software licensing is a lot, right? And obviously, because this is a UK public sector organisation and whole environment that's being paid for by British taxpayers, UK taxpayers, that's a lot of waste. And I think that we've seen a lot of cases recently over the past few years where local councils have gone bust, and they've highlighted, bad deals with Oracle, bad IT spend, creaking infrastructure that needs hardware refreshing or even software refreshing that they don't have the funds to be able to do, so that they're falling behind, etc. So does this mean that the public sector organisations are not taking IT asset management seriously? We all know that IT asset management can help mitigate these risks and help reduce the spend, but there's only so much we can do as well if there are contracts that are long term that the organisation is locked into, or in this case the public sector are locked into, that you legally cannot get out of. So the argument then should be, well, should ITAM have been involved at the beginning of this to avoid locking in these contracts? And of course they should have. Of course IT asset management should have been involved to make sure that the contracts are right size, that you're only purchasing what you need, that you're only buying the right cloud services that you're actually need proactively use, rather than spending money on cloud services, software licenses, etc., that are going to remain dormant and end up being a huge amount of technical debt on, unfortunately, an industry that is really in the spotlight at the moment. Of course, ITAM could have been there to help make sure that you weren't locked into a long-term agreement that you were going to waste money on. But this also happens in the corporate space, in the private space. There are a lot of organisations that lock into these longer-term deals because they really do believe that financially it's the best option for them, both commercially and from an ITAM perspective. And at the time, that may be the case. But there's a lot of organizational right sizing going on at the moment. There's a lot of organizations making people redundant and letting people go and just completely eradicating departments, roles, even whole parts of their business. And therefore, when you've got these longer term licensing and cloud agreements that you physically can't true down or get out of, then you are going to be left with technical debt. You are going to be left paying for software and cloud instances that you don't need and no longer need. But at the time, you didn't know that you weren't going to need it. You didn't know that in 3 years into a 5-year software licensing deal that your organization was going to decrease the number of people by 10, 20%. But what you can do is make sure that when you're starting the agreement is only buying what you need with maybe a little bit of buffer for new people joining or for new projects, etc. So that you've got a few in a license pool spare so that you can react quickly. However, £60 million a year for the next 5 years is a huge amount of money that is being wasted. That would not stand in any other organisation. That simply wouldn't be allowed to happen in the private sector. So why is it happening in the public sector with money coming from taxpayers and UK citizens? It's crazy to think that that's just on software licensing. That's just on cloud services. What else are they wasting money on? Could it be hardware? Maybe they're buying the wrong make, model and spec. Who knows? There's no research, or I haven't seen anything come out that says that that might be the case. The most frustrating thing about that is thinking how if ITAM was there, this could potentially have been all avoided. The risk could have been mitigated and would never have even been put in that position in the first place. £60 million a year spent on software contracts that you're locked into and can't get out of. That money could have been put elsewhere to better use. Maybe even on upgrading hardware, maybe even on better cloud services, maybe on improving the overall infrastructure within the public sector from an IT perspective, or maybe even take it completely out of IT and put that money elsewhere. If only ITAM was there. But I think this is another really good use case and case study that really highlights the importance of what we do within IT asset management. We can help organizations avoid this overspend, no matter what sector, industry, whatever they're in. ITAM can play a key role and does play a key role in making sure that people, organizations are not overspending on software and services that they don't need. It's just another string to our bow. It's another case study that we can use in the ITAM world to shout about the importance of it. But anyway, that's kind of gone off on a bit of a rant here, but I thought it would be really interesting to highlight this article that came out. Obviously, have a look at the article yourself, make your own conclusions and think what you want to think about it and about the quality of the research, etc. But really wanted to highlight this and show how IT asset management, can help avoid these kind of things as well moving forward, which as the audience of primarily IT asset management professionals you already knew this already. But yeah, £300 million spent wasted in the UK public sector over the next 5 years was a headline I just had to react to. Have a look at the article, like I said, make your own conclusions. And obviously, if you're in ITAM, think about how you could help impact that moving forward and maybe take some of the lessons learned here in showing the importance of ITAM within your organisation. The UK public sector are wasting that amount of money. You can show how you're not, because you've implemented ITAM, because you've got the processes, the controls, the policies, etc. in place. Use this kind of publicity, if you like, to your advantage within your ITAM function. And on that, I hope you found these ramblings of a passionate ITAM professional useful. As always, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And we hope to see you here next time at the Sandbeast YouTube channel. Happy ITAMing.